Good morning from RC Gadget and Toys. Dean here for another eBay and RC Gadget and Toys, the eBay experiment video. So I've done a few shorts, done a few videos, sort of introducing myself. You might know me from the RC channel, Racing 393. I've decided to continue with that, but I've also made a decision to perhaps try and venture into the eBay sales. Now, it's a big, long piece of string when you say eBay. So in this video, what I'm going to talk about is perhaps if you're thinking of selling on eBay, maybe you're thinking, where do you get your items from? Where can you go? There's many options, but we'll explore that in a little bit of detail coming up. So just to start off the bat, let's clear a few things up. If you're wondering, so I'm using XSplit, but I'm not paying for it. It's a freebie, and with that, you've got the water line across the camera. So yeah, there's not much I can do about that. I'm not going to pay. I think it's like five UK pounds a month to get rid of that. Not yet. It's an expense that I can do without. It doesn't really affect the quality so much. I mean, you can probably listen to the podcast here or the vlog if you like with just your headphones on. You don't need to be watching me, so I will clear that up. Selling on eBay. Where do you start? Where did I start? Well, I think one of the most obvious ways that you can get your inventory, it might not be obvious, but simply going down your local charity shops. Lots of eBayers do this, and depends on what you're specialising in. Now, charity shops sell all sorts. We all know they sell clothes. If you're thinking of selling clothes, for example, then why not pop down to your local charity shop, see what they got. Now, it's probably not a good idea just to pick up anything, because you've got to think, what will people buy? Now, you're also thinking, well, if I'm going to sell it on eBay, presumably for a profit, why don't people that want things go down the charity shop and buy it themselves anyway? Regardless, they're not going to sell it. They just want that jumper or those trousers or those shoes or whatever it might be. Why do they not go down there and go on eBay, and presumably they're going to be paying a little bit more from perhaps what they can get it for? That's a very good question. I've got an answer for that, which I'll perhaps go into in another video. But you can start off quite easily, giving yourself a budget. Let's say, I don't know, £50. So start off with £50 and go down the local charity shop, and you need to be quite selective. Now, not all things are cheap just because it's a charity shop, but you might be able to buy a bulk of things and get it a little bit cheaper. You've got no postage, no shipping. You just literally, if it's local, you can drive there, get some bits and come home. So there's your first thing. Of course, the pricing has to be right. For example, I wouldn't necessarily expect you to go and buy a hoodie, for example, for £15, a brand name, because unless it was a specific brand, there's probably not a lot of margin in that, isn't there? So you need to think, what would you pay for it if you bought it online? So if you look at like an Adidas hoodie, for example, and there's loads, but I'm just saying that for example. What would you expect to pay for that? Or new, let's go new. So without looking online at the moment, we're probably looking at brand new off of a retail shop. What are they going to be? Quite a lot, aren't they? 30, 40 pounds. I don't know. I'm not really a fashion person, as you can see. £39.99. I'm talking about UK money here, so being in the UK. $39.99. You probably get it cheaper, but I'm just going to use it as a round figure. So someone wears it for a while, but it's in good condition, and it ends up in the charity shop. What do you think they would sell it at? So an Adidas hoodie, I don't know, maybe they'll sell it for £10. $9.99, maybe. You then have to think, right, could you get it cheaper than that? If you bought some other bits and pieces, I mean, I know it's charity, and you think, well, should you be offering, making an offer in a charity shop? Well, yeah, why not? It's not a problem, is it? Maybe you'll get it for a little bit cheaper. Maybe you won't. But what would you pay for that online? What would you expect if it was in good condition, clean? Now you wouldn't buy it if it was all mucky, but what would you get for that online on eBay, for example? Maybe, just maybe, you'll get $24.99 for it. Maybe you'll get $19.99. If you look at a £10 purchase, and you're always looking at almost trying to double your money, I would think £20 online would be a quite top. I would probably more or less put that as like $15.99 or something like that. So you make a small profit. Of course, out of that will come your postage, eBay's fees, and any packaging that you're going to use. So what you have to remember, the important thing with selling on eBay at the beginning isn't so much making profit. You need a bit, of course, but like I said in other videos, you need to invest. So maybe to invest £50, you're not going to make £100, are you? You're not going to double it, but you might make £15 or something, or £20. Get your £50 back and an extra 20. But the other important thing to remember is that the people that then buy it off you trust you. That's the only way when you start afresh or at the beginning that you're going to build up a business. You have to be prepared to, I would say, sometimes make a loss. Now, it's not ideal, which is why you don't want to invest hundreds, thousands. You need to set yourself a limit. But it doesn't just end there. There's lots more to it which we can go into some detail with. It isn't just an easy task of searching for your brand named hoodie from a charity shop, buying it, and then selling it on eBay at a profit. Although that's the business plan, it doesn't always work like that. There are other options. Let's start off with the charity shops. One of the things that I would perhaps encourage, depends where you live. So we all know that, like, the cities and the sort of the affluent areas, they have charity shops, and the clientele that live in those areas is a different clientele than someone that perhaps lives in the countryside or in a council estate. I mean, I'm from a council estate, but it's a different clientele. So you're going to get different products, depends on where you buy your inventory from. And we're talking about charity shops. I used to go down charity shops in affluent areas from where I live. You might have to travel 20 minutes, an hour, at the weekend or whatever it might be, and going into these charity shops. You'll be surprised what you find in there. But don't get me wrong, there's also lots of tat around, and also other online resellers are doing that very thing. So it's one of those things where you've got a lot of competition. So you've got charity shops. The other reasonably obvious way is you can actually buy off eBay and sell on eBay. You can buy off Amazon and sell on eBay, for example. It's just knowing what to buy. You're better off to buy bulk, so you pay a price for many items. You know what bulk is. and then you sell those individual items to make up your profits, where you might find the first few you sell, you're not making a profit, but if you sold like all of them or 50% of them, then you start making a profit. That can be done. You've got to be very careful with your pricing so that you don't outprice yourself, basically. The other way, which is a bit long-winded, but again, it can be done, lots of people do it, is we all know that you've got those websites in China, Japan, and other places where you can buy stock. Now, I've been quite vocal on many other videos in my RC videos about how cheap and sometimes bad Chinese products are. And yes, they are. But if you're buying the correct product, something you might know a little bit about, it could be, I'll steer clear of electrics if I'm honest with you, but it could be little models, or it could be clothing, it could be utensils or hardware, whatever it is that you're going to pick, something that doesn't need to be electronically controlled, if you like, because I wouldn't trust many electronic things within China or Japan, even though they're very high tech. It's just the things you're getting isn't very high tech, if you see what I mean. But you can buy lots of things online, but of course it takes time to get here. We're talking from like AliExpress or Alibaba or Banggood. You're looking at, it varies, it depends on what shipping you have, but it can vary from a week, 4 days to 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. So there is a delay in getting items over from overseas, especially from that part of the world. So you can do that. Many online resellers would probably tell you that they could start by this. The important thing to remember is stick to your budget, because it can get out of hand, and before you know where you are, you're spending quite a lot of money and it's not a lot of return. It doesn't just end at buying at the right price, but it does help. In my opinion, the next most important thing is your customer service, regardless of whether you're buying or selling. So that's key to get things sold. I know there are other platforms that you can sell other than eBay, but as this is the eBay experiment, that's why I'm only going over eBay. I'm pretty sure most of you will know other platforms that you can sell on, and that's fine. We'll perhaps go over a few of those in future videos. I mean, there's no telling of how well this eBay store is going to do at the end of the day. It is an experiment, hence the name. So I would probably encourage you to buy things within your own niche, within the UK or whatever country you're in, whether it be a charity shop or flea market, even a market, or if you're, I don't know what they're called in America, they're called something else, aren't they? But most things you can buy from any store that's on offer, or end of line products. You just need to look. It might not be something that you're particularly interested in, but you could probably sell those at a slight profit. The idea being is you need to have a list of what you've got, what it's cost you, how are you going to post it, are you going to charge the customer, or are you going to have free postage, what are you going to put it in, have you got any wrapping or bags or boxes or whatever it is you're selling, can you get hold of them, or do you have to buy them? Now there's quite a lot involved. Initially I definitely wouldn't be paying for boxes or jiffy bags. You can go to most supermarkets or anywhere, even the charity shops, and you ask them if they've got any boxes, and you can cut those boxes up into smaller cardboard segments and make a neat box out of it. The only thing you perhaps need to buy, I would recommend, is parcel tape, because it's strong. Clearly having access to a printer is important, although you don't always need that as well. because you've got to put a label on. But at the end of the day, what you're sending out needs to look the part. You know, so if it's new, like you've bought it from AliExpress, for example, that it's in good condition, doesn't look tacky, and the price that you're asking for it is quite reasonable. The idea is don't be greedy. Now, the whole purpose of this eBay experiment is to help others understand perhaps what's involved in selling online. This is just a very brief overlook on maybe how to start selling on eBay. I can tell you now, it isn't easy. The more money you can put in, the better. However, I wouldn't throw money at it initially because it's not everybody's cup of tea. It sounds easy, working from home, working for a few hours a day, so to speak, packing things up and sending it off. It doesn't always end that way. It can get quite stressful, especially working around family or a full-time job. I would always recommend that you have an income. Don't compromise your own income, but work evenings and weekends where you can with your online store. Hence, I've got the brand here, RC Gadget and Toys, which I don't know why I ended up with that. Well, RC, I do sell RC gadgets. I've got a few gadgets and toys, so it just sort of rolls off the tongue, and I've sort of kept that for since I've been selling on eBay, to be fair. So just to highlight, inventory can be purchased within your own area in charity shops. You can go down local supermarkets, you can go to local stores that are selling things cheap, end of line products, because they want to change their storefront, they want to change their content, and sometimes you can get a good deal, and you can even offer them in some stores. You know, if you buy a bulk of items, you can say, what would you take for all those? There are some stores that still do that. It does feel a bit weird doing that, because you know, you wouldn't go into like Asda and say, well, that's £9.99, can I give you £7 for it? It's not, it doesn't quite work like that. But I have seen people do that, you know, but in other stores it might work. So yes, starting local, minimal outgoings. So set yourself a budget, think what you can sell that item online for, do some research. If you have a look on eBay itself, you can look at sold items, try and find the product that you're selling and see if there's other people on there also selling that product. What is your competition? You can check other websites, Amazon, Vinted, Facebook Marketplace, just to name a couple. So you can get a rough idea of what people are paying. And also, what makes you different? If it's a jumper, if it's a hoodie, pair of trousers or shoes, what is going to make that stand out? Because that will get you custom. It isn't just a case of taking a picture, sticking it online and hoping for the best. There is a method. And we can go into that. It depends on what questions I get from here. I'm not saying that I know everything about eBay selling, because I don't. Because I'm not rich. I've just started. I've got a small store where I'm putting my things in. But it's still in its infancy. So this video is basically just going over some real clear objectives. Where to get your stock from, maybe what to buy, and what to concentrate on when you're selling it. If you need any advice or ideas, then just drop me a line on the comments part of this video, or if you go into my channel, you can get email and you can contact me that way. But keep an eye out on my social media channels, X, Facebook and Instagram, because they'll be updated fairly regularly. I'm not going to say daily, but fairly regularly, with things I'm in behind the scenes. Keep your eye out for more content on the channel like this, helping you out with perhaps which direction to go. But in the meantime, there'll be updates on the channel about how I'm doing. You know, at the moment it's very slow. I've given myself 12 months to try and build up to where I can say that I'm a full-time online reseller. Let me know what you're doing. Let me know how you're selling. Anyone that's competent and they've already been there, you know, they've been in there and done it. It'd be nice to hear from you. It'd be nice to hear from people like myself who have just started, and it'd also be nice to hear from people that are thinking about it. I'm pretty sure we can get a good community together and get things moving, and the help between all of us should hopefully, we'll all benefit in the end if we all get together. That's the thing. So thank you for watching. Thanks for your time. I appreciate that. I'm going to try and keep these videos a little bit shorter. I know I've rambled on, but I'll do my best to keep them down to a minimum. Thank you for your time again. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Hit that notification bell. And I will see you very soon for the next video. I'm Dean. This is the eBay experiment. Have a good day.